All right. Hello, thriving friends. Happy new week. Trust you are all doing well. Ah, it's good to see you all. Good to see you all. Let's all come on in and settle. Okay. Happy new week. Today is Friday, May 5th. I said May. March 15th rather than Monday. I'm so excited to be here. Come on in the room. Come on in. Um Some thriving friends alerted me this morning that some countries around the world are having internet challenges ahead of Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, and some other countries. So, if you're not able to join, don't worry, friends. This will be recorded. You can find this on our platforms and you can always watch it. But if you're able to join, when you get here, do say hello, share the link, and let other friends know that we are online. So we stream on multiple platforms on YouTube, Thriving Generation with Dr. G. On my, I apologize, my voice is doing some skills this morning. So, yeah, so we stream on multiple platforms on X, on Facebook, Foster Radio, and TV. So wherever you find us, you may be given different options. Some will say support, some will say subscribe, some will say share. So whatever option you are given, please go ahead and support us, okay? I'll go ahead and excuse me. Whoa. 1 minute. I'll go ahead and check on the other platforms to make sure we are live, everything is working okay. And then share the link too with my folks. I think I see that we are live on YouTube. Let me copy that link for a second. Yeah. And then I'll go and share. Usually, when YouTube is working, it's most likely Facebook is working too. But I'll just go ahead and share my link. So, you too share your link, okay? Share with people, let them know we are on. They can join us. We can all have this fun conversation together. Today, we are blessed to be joined by a very, very good friend. So I don't want anybody to miss it. And I don't currently see anybody on. I hope we are online. I hope we are live. But like I said, I've been informed of internet issues. So I'll go ahead and invite the guest on board and then we will get this recorded. All right. Okay. Okay, so if this is your first time meeting us, hi. My name is Dr. Grace Kakari. I go by Dr. G. And on this platform, we talk about everything success and holistic wellness because we believe that a balanced, thriving life demands paying attention to several aspects of our life. And when we talk about a balanced, thriving life, we usually look at all these dimensions of health and wellness. We look at emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, occupational wellness, physical wellness, financial wellness, intellectual wellness, and environmental wellness. So all the conversations we have will come from a bit of um it could be from any or most of these dimensions of health and wellness. So if this is something you're interested in, stay with us, subscribe to our channel, follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you are hearing us from right now, and make sure that you are with us every Monday morning for thriving lessons. All right, I'll go ahead and invite our guest on board. Hi, Dr. Esi. How are you doing?
I am well this morning, and hello to all thriving friends. It's
Yes.
exciting to be on this platform.
Wonderful. So, I don't know if you heard me say this, but some thriving friends are having internet challenges. Are you aware of this? Like something is going on around Africa or so.
Yes, I do have a, a phone line in Ghana, and I did receive a notification from MTN in Ghana that they were having issues with some of their undersea cables
Mm,
just this
mm.
morning. So, but I didn't quite connect because, yeah.
Hey, it looks like we'll be clearing our throats this morning. Isn't that interesting that we are talking about communication and people are having communication challenges? You
Yes.
know, even before we go into it, Doc, can you please introduce yourself to our thriving friends, a
Oh,
little bit about your background, and then we'll
fine.
go straight into the conversation?
Okay. So my name is Esi Thompson. I teach at Indiana University, and my teaching is focused on public relations. Um, but I'm also a researcher, and that's where I think my passion really resides. So I do research in health risk and crisis communication. Prior to coming into academia, I was in full-time public relations, serving various clients, doing workshops, and so that's actually where my training was in my master's, and then my PhD. I moved into academia. So is that all, or do you want me to say more? 'Cause-
I think as we keep speaking, things will come up and you can share more of your background.
Mhm.
So you've worked in the field before and now you are in academia. So Professor Issy, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Yeah. I mean, even saying professor, I know culturally when you say
you.
professor back in Ghana, you are just referring to your teacher. But in America, it could be anything. It could be just a teacher or it could be a professor as in the highest rank in the university system. So
Right.
when I said professor, what came to mind? Which one did you think I was referring to?
Honestly, I think over the years I have gotten used to it, like
Mm,
as in just the title being used to refer to you. So I honestly didn't give it a second thought, and probably it's also because of the familiarity I have with you. So I didn't think
mm,
much of it beyond the fact that, yeah, I knew you were just using
yeah.
that.
Tessie, I appreciate you so much. Every time I get here, thriving friends, I always say I have a love book. I'm keeping track.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, I love you, I support you," but you don't see it. And then others say it, but you also see it. And I'm keeping track. And doctors, you are definitely in that book. So, oh
Hey,
yes,
there
don't worry.
we
Yeah. So, as we are going to talk about communication, thriving friends, if you are now joining us from any of the platforms, we hope you are doing well. When you get here, do say hello though. We want to know if you can hear us okay. And today we are talking about communication. Dr. C and I are just going to have a fun conversation about virtual communication, some of the things that have changed over time, and how we can interact effectively. And we started off by talking about how some African countries are having internet challenges. Really, I did not realize how much we depend on internet these days
go.
until, as if it was chaotic. My mom was trying to call, my dad was trying to call, I picked, they can't talk. It's like
Oh.
not knowing what was going on. Everybody was panicking.
Mm.
Uh-huh. And then a few weeks or days, I think it probably a week ago, in the United States, when we woke up in the morning, I think everybody was logged out of Facebook.
Oh, right.
Did you experience that too?
As you're talking now, I'm smiling because I'm supposed to be experiencing these things, but I'm not. Because I found myself in a very interesting relationship be with um, these channels that we use and the dependency that we have on them. And
Yeah.
it's interesting for me as I reflect on the fact that I didn't even realize Facebook was off until my husband texted me and he thought he'd been hacked. So he just
Mm-hmm.
send me a quick text that, well, I can't get into Facebook. I think I've been hacked. So I was like, okay, give me a moment. Let me try. And then I try to go in. I was actually in a meeting. So I think I just checked, is Facebook off? And then I saw and I was like, check Instagram. I think there's an issue going on. And
Mm.
yesterday, I think I had seen something from MTN, but because I didn't communicate with anybody in any of those affected countries, I was oblivious to it. And that's how
Mm.
sometimes communication is, right? If you're not
Yeah.
using something as much, you don't even realize you're missing it when it's not there and things like that.
Yeah.
there's this activity that I plan on doing with my students, that for one whole week we're going to not go on social media, and we're going to
Hey.
social media fast and see what
Hmm.
other things we get done or how we get through those, so we can process that, because it has become so ubiquitous around us that we don't even realize what life was like. It's like you're leaving the house and you realize you left the phone. You will do
Mm-hmm.
everything to try to go back to get it, but you can
Yeah.
go on and your day will still go on. It wouldn't be as smooth, but you would then become very creative about ways
Yeah.
around it. Because I remember in 2021, I broke my phone and I was hesitant to get a new one immediately. My husband really wanted me to. I was hesitant because I was like, life is still going on. But it was like, it's not you. Others trying to reach them. Like, we're fine. So eventually I
Yeah.
did get it. But the point is, um, we've been psyched to see it as it's the be it and it's the all in all for us. And so
Yeah.
we tend not to be able to visualize life without it. But I'm seeing your next question and I'm actually smiling to myself because I'm remembering. Maybe I'll let you take it and then I'll share what I'm remembering. And
Oh,
actually,
as in how communication has changed over time.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead and share with us
Ah,
because I mean it's been interesting. Yeah.
yeah. I remember back in second, we didn't have cell phones in secondary school when I was in secondary school in Ghana.
Okay.
We had this pay to call, we called them a payphone. And then in university too was a payphone. It was then owned by the National Telecommunications Authority then in Ghana. So you pay, and then you have some time that you're able to call. Um,
Yeah.
and life still went on. I'm just thinking of, it was like it was normal,
Hey,
right?
auntie, what time was that? 19 what?
No, it wasn't the 90s.
1951. I mean,
And even
okay.
then, yeah, I have students who can't imagine life without a
A
phone.
phone.
When
Yeah.
I was doing my first degree, yes, I had to
Hmm.
type out everything. I didn't have a computer, but I still got my dissertation. Was it called? I think it was called a thesis. I still got my thesis that I still typed it.
Do you think
So
if it was 2024, you could have easily gotten it done in the same way?
easily, as in the expectations then are not the expectations now,
Yeah.
because then it was it that they knew that not everybody had it and you're supposed to get it done, and so you had ways to get it done. But now it's
Yeah.
expected. You come to class today, it's expected you have a phone, you have a computer. We take it
Yeah.
for granted, and so that has also changed how we live our lives these days compared to then. But what was your experience growing up? Because the first phone I encountered was a landline at home when
Hmm.
I was in
Hmm.
secondary school, right? And I
Yeah.
remember my grandma being upset that we spent long hours on the phone talking. That always got us into trouble. And you know what I'm actually remembering? When the bill comes, there were trunk
Eish.
calls that had to be tracked. And so they'll be asking who made this long call. So for
Okay.
some of us, was trying to make sure you are just on the receiving end as much as possible, right? But
Yeah.
those were also exciting days when you look back at them now, because it was like, wow, I can really talk to my friend. And so that's just, think about how communication has evolved. What was then the big thing then is like your kids don't even,
No, no,
it's like,
no,
yeah,
no. Yes,
it's
we also had the landline and we had I don't know if you had that. We had a wooden box around it and then it had a lock and
mhm,
then they will lock it with a key. So all you could do was to receive and
right.
then but somehow we knew where the key was. So when
Mm.
our parents were not around, we would go for the key and open. Or if you are very creative, you can use the pen, lift the thing just a little bit and still press on the numbers,
I hope
which
your
is what I
parents are not
mostly did.
listening.
Oh, they caught me multiple times because the
Oh,
bill will come. And
right.
when the bill comes, I remember our bill was always like it's like they print receipts these
Itemized.
days, like
Yeah.
itemized, and then they will go through each one. Like, who called this number? Who
Number,
called?
yeah.
Actually, my mom will sometimes call the number. The where? Like, who is this?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Dr.
Okay.
Effiong, sometimes you see 30 minutes, 1 hour. Like those ones were the ones I made. I mean, those days I had just finished high school, getting into no junior high, going to senior high. Those were sensitive years, very,
Mhm.
very sensitive. We needed to make calls. You can't just lock the phone like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just the
And now
time.
I have my 9-year-old asking me if he can get a phone. Can
Mm,
you imagine?
mhm,
And
mm.
he's telling me people in his class have cell phones and all that. I don't know if you've encountered that in communication. How early are people getting access to cell phones?
Yeah, that. So as early as the parent wants them to have a phone,
Mm.
or the kid is able to convince them. I mean, I think phones are a little more delayed compared to iPads, because we tend to view
Uh-huh.
iPads as well. They're going to play. I mean, kids as young as 2 have iPads, and they're different ages. Some are age appropriate, some are, normal iPads that have apps for kids on them. So even without the phones, they're still exposed to these communication channels very, very early,
Mm.
even as babies, because we
Mm-hmm.
played for them to watch cartoons and things on so that you can have a bit of time. So the exposure to these communication media and channels is pretty very early for many, many, many kids around the world, I must say. I don't know what your experience has been, though.
Hmm. I think if I will be sincere, the time my first child had access to screen has been different from my second.
Mm,
And though the third is just a baby, she
mm,
still hears what is going on, and maybe sometimes we see what is going on depending on where she's lying in the room
right.
and all. But our first child, we were even graduate students anyway. We didn't have a TV for a
Right.
long time. In
Mm,
fact, we didn't even care for TVs.
mm.
He never had his own iPad until I think his fourth birthday or something. Somebody bought him Amazon Fire tablet, that
Okay.
small
Hmm.
thing. Yeah. But the second child was exposed pretty early.
Right.
Like, oh, you'll be fine, you won't die. You
Yeah.
survive, okay. But the first time, like, no, no screen time, no, just
Hmm.
read. And you can also tell the difference between them developmentally. My first can read, he
Hmm.
can do so many things that the second one would want to do on a tablet.
Yeah.
She
Hmm.
doesn't want to write as
Yeah.
quickly. There are different. She's more like a digital baby. Like,
Hmm.
what are you doing on my tablet? Can I get your phone? Can I get your phone? Can I get your phone?
Right.
Yeah, you're
So,
right.
mhm.
You're right. Okay, how about professionally? Now let's reflect and see how communication has changed over time.
I think back to what we started with. I mean, from when we started writing on a papyrus all the way back, that's like way back, to even the typewriter, and how it became
Mm,
one of those modern elements, one of the main elements of modernization and
yeah.
literacy development across nations. I still remember that even when I was in secondary school, some students in, I don't remember the name of the business course, were still doing typing at that time,
Mm,
a typewriter. And I think back and I see that, I mean, generally, a lot of African countries, we tend to be late adopters, because I think even back in those days, people were already using computers, but
yep.
we were still learning the typewriter. So that, and then of course the telephone really brought a huge change into how all of that is done, because its evolution meant that it wasn't only provide. I mean, up until the kind of smartphones we have now, actually, I should say, because it
Mm,
wasn't just a matter of just doing a voice call, but then it brought together what you would normally do in your office, like what you're doing
mm,
on your computer. Like literally, you run your entire business on your phone. You get your emails there, you go. Because at first, all of these things were disintegrated, each had a different way of accessing it. But now that they are all in one space, it has changed the entire way we communicate, right?
Mhm.
Even to some extent, that 8 to 5 jobs have become a designation in name for some institutions. Because you're still seeing the emails that come at 6, that come at 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the times you're going to easily respond to it even on your phone. You're going to be able to
Yeah.
check that article on your phone. So all
Mm.
of that have modified and the way we do our communication, and to some extent the expectations. So I do realize that I get emails from people and they have at the bottom that don't feel obligated to respond to these emails outside your working hours, because then there's the pressure on you, the recipients, who want to respond to, because the person has emailed you. But you do not need to do that if that doesn't work for your system. So all of that to
Mm.
say that because things are so evolved, we become this type of digital economy that is more of a fast-paced, do it now, get it now, information quick, information
Yeah.
rich society that is just a go, go, go. And if you're not careful, you won't be able to even pull yourself and catch your own breath, which we all need to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And this fast pace too has caused us sometimes, and I do that. I remember I sent you a text yesterday. I was just typing out of one meeting, going to another. I misspelled things, right? And this can come across as sloppy. Added to that is the ease with which we can use emojis and pictures to
Yeah.
communicate rather than just typing things out. And that to some extent is also affecting the formal ways of communicating, right? Because you're
Yeah.
still expected, like you're applying for a job, doing an interview, you're expected to be able to communicate in certain ways. But if you become so used to these shorthand forms of writing, LOL and
Yeah.
things like that, ASAP, and sometimes our students don't really know what these things mean, because they
Mm.
how you communicate without your presence gives a whole different picture of you even before you show up. So when I get your CV, when I get your documents, I'm looking at it, I'm already forming an impression of you, because everything you email, type, post
Yeah.
speaks about who you are. So we've evolved from that a little more distance communication to a time where everything is fast paced. In the
Yeah.
now, we expect to receive it now. We're waiting to hear back now. We think everybody has a smartphone, and so they should be able to see that email immediately. You get it. I'm a
Yeah.
teacher, and I get it sometimes. Students send an email and they think you're saying it right there and then, but that's not always the case. So we expect to be receiving feedback all the time. I don't know, what has your experience been, knowing that you utilize these same platforms for Thriving Generation and others such. You're also a book publisher, and so all of these various things you're involved in have to do with communication.
Yeah, I think you took us straight into the next point we're going to look at, which was common mistakes and issues we face professionally. For me, hmm, when you initially said people will write below the email, do not feel obligated, I was like, really? And they think it works? I mean, I feel like they write that, but mentally, if you want to be in their good books, you
Mm,
still go ahead and respond to it. Your
mhm,
supervisor sent you something, you are thinking, okay, if the supervisor has taken time to send it, maybe I should respond to it also.
mhm.
But I guess it's lack of boundaries. I've known people who are really good at that. If it's not between 8 and 5
Right,
weekdays, they will never ever respond.
right.
But I think I haven't had that boundary. I do as and when, like, okay, let me get this out of the way. Let me get this out of the way. And that can lead you to working, more hours than you should, and even
Right.
taking you into the midnight. And I'm awake anyway. I'm awake most of the time anyway. But that, I think, if we are talking about a mistake, the mistake would be not having a boundary.
Mm,
When will be appropriate to Respond to what? That would be the mistake. The issue will be trying to please,
Right.
coming across as somebody who is responsive.
Mhm,
Because even on Facebook, you said, I use this for my other things too.
mhm.
Facebook will give you a label or a title or a badge, most responsive, you
Okay.
know. Yeah. So like, okay, I want to get that. I want to get that for my business. Like I'm very responsive when it comes to
Right.
these things.
Right.
Um LinkedIn will also have something like that.
Mm,
Like, you want to come across as somebody who is always there. And
mm,
with students too, you mentioned students. I mean, because some people have their phones on them every day, every time, they assume that most people also do the same thing.
mhm.
So when you don't even respond within 12 to 24 hours, not even 24 hours, I mean, between 24 hours, most professors will respond to you
Right.
because they will
Right.
be back to work around that time. But
Mhm,
within, let's say an assignment is due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and you're receiving this email maybe on Sunday at 6 p.m. or Sunday 8 p.m. and they
mhm.
are needing the response in order to fix whatever they need to fix for the due date on the
Right.
same day. You know,
Yeah.
for different people. And then if you don't take care, you know that it will show in your evaluation. I shouldn't respond to
Yeah.
me. Like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
goodness. Yeah. So I've had experiences all
Mm,
over. But I
mm,
think the major issue when it comes to professionally has been having boundaries.
mm,
And some supervisors are wonderful at this. They will tell you that don't do this after this hours, and they won't also be reaching out to you outside your work hours. But
mm,
for us in the fields where we don't necessarily have fixed working hours, I
mm.
don't know how we can work around this. Do you have any tip that helps you?
So I think that is individual specific, I must confess, because um, I see myself as I have work, I have kids, I
Yeah.
have a whole lot of life outside the profession,
Mm-hmm.
which is what drives me to be able to do my best within the profession. So I need to be
Mm-hmm.
able to give myself that space.
Mm.
Um, um, to be able to rejuvenate from this other space to be any better in the professional environment. So I try. And for me, it's about, like you said, setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
With my students, right at the beginning of class, I lay it out. I let you know if you email me late on Friday, you won't hear back from me till Monday. And
Okay.
I will try as much as possible. Unless it's an emergency, you will not hear from me over the weekend. Because I think it's important for us to all make the time to catch our breath. In my classes, I always would check in and see how was your weekend? Did you do something nice for yourself? Did you get a break? What did you do for your mental health over the weekend? Because at least one thing that COVID has taught us is that life is short.
Hey,
Um,
sure.
you need to
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
best of today,
Yeah.
right? And you need to be able to prioritize, because during
Yeah.
COVID, we realized that, hey, everything can just go down, and that's all the
Yeah.
things you've given your life to. So, what's most important to you? Somebody would say that, well, I'm single now. I have the leeway, I have the time. I'm more than willing to do that. And
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine at that level, at that individual level. It's fine to know who you are, what boundaries you're setting, and
Yeah.
how you be engaging, and make that clear. I think that what the problem lies is not that we have those boundaries, but that we haven't articulated them for the people that we engage with to know, so that
Yes.
they know what to expect. Or we may have articulated it, but they know that if they still send the email, we will still respond. So they know, even
Yeah.
though you have spoken and shared your boundaries, you're not sticking to them. So they can still take advantage of it. And so being able to do that really becomes important for you. And it probably won't apply to every aspect. Well, we're talking professionally, so maybe mostly for your professional life. But for instance,
Mhm.
if you're working on a paper with co-authors who are in different parts of, let's say, America, or different parts of the world, for instance, you would have
Yeah.
to be cognizant of that. right? It's early morning where some of us are. It's already in the afternoon where some other people are. So if you're
Yes.
working with colleagues from there, you do have to be careful and be clear about when you are available and when you're not, so that you
Yeah.
don't get
Yeah.
calls in the middle of the night, because that's when somebody's also in their office working and those kinds of things.
Yes. Yes, you're right. And you just took us straight into how we can enhance our communication and
Mm,
talking about working with people from all around the world. Yeah. I realize that sometimes when we are going to sleep, some are waking up.
mm,
And with us working with people from other countries, I have a wonderful helper
mhm,
from, she's currently in Austria.
mm,
She is so efficient that if you give her a task, I will give her a task today in my evening. By the time I wake up, it's done.
wow.
Yeah, it's done. And it's really, it feels so amazing. It feels so amazing to have that.
Mm,
And then folks in Ghana too, I think we are 5 hours or 6 hours apart.
mm,
So when you want to communicate with someone, by the time you're going to sleep, they are waking and they are delayed. And
mhm.
we have our father-in-law calling sometimes at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. And then you think about it like, oh, it's his morning or it's his afternoon. He just picked the phone and
It's
you
calling.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't mean to wake you up necessarily, but to
Right.
him, oh, we are awake and things are
Yeah.
going on. So if he doesn't take his time to check, so sometimes he'll come in like, oh, I didn't change. Like it's no daylight yet. Okay, bye, bye.
You're already awake.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Hi, thriving friend. Hi, Jeffrey. Thank you for joining us. I think I recognize that the internet is really affecting people, so that's fine. We are recording this, we can always share with folks. And this is not a professional example, but 2 weekends ago, we went to braid my daughter's hair. And when we got there, I actually felt I didn't have my phone on me, but
Mm,
I didn't think I had time to check because I wanted to make it at the appointment time. So we got there, then I realized without the phone, I can't call the lady to let her know that we are in front of the house and so she should give us the code to get upstairs. So
right.
we're monitoring and somebody was entering, like, please hold, please hold. Then we ran and entered. So we go to the back of her house. I knocked on her door because I knew the specific room, but you need the code to get up there. So we
Right.
got there and I told her, I don't have my phone on me. I lost my phone. Oh goodness, then go for it. I was like, no, I'll be fine. Really? You won't go for your phone? How are you? She
Mhm.
was freaking out for me, and I was sitting down looking at her like, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. What if somebody's trying to call you? But I'm like, nobody's going to call me. I mean, I'll be fine.
Right.
It was so funny. Then I realized she, as a friend, has almost everything on her phone. Her
Right.
phone is her key, her phone
Mhm,
is her wallet, her
mhm.
phone is every single thing she
Right.
needs.
Right.
So without having her phone, it's like she
Yeah.
can't be functional.
Mhm. Mhm.
How are you dependent on your phone, doc?
Let's see. So what do I use my phones for? I receive my emails on my phone, but
Okay,
doesn't it just makes I just see that I have received this email, so that
okay.
there's certain things I'm expecting. I make calls. I notice I don't even make calls as often. I feel like I do more emails than phone.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. I think the email, there's a bit of delay, so you're able to think through. Um,
Mm,
and I'm not forced to have to type immediately. It's like I have WhatsApp and those other apps on my
yeah,
phone, but I feel that I use it in such a way, and I think I have stopped doing this. You know, WhatsApp, for instance, it gives you a check when you check it in the
yeah,
settings. I have to
yeah.
turn that off.
Oh,
It was off
really?
because then the person says, oh, she's seen it, why hasn't she responded, irrespective of what you did when you
Uh,
just saw that check. So if I'm in the middle of a class and I'm checking the time and then it shows and I mistakenly tap on it, you understand, next I've received it, I'm just ignoring you. But I'm teaching, I can't stop and respond. So I have that, I have to go back and make sure I reset that. I don't do I try not to put all my things in one space. So
Okay.
I try not to use my phone to, and I haven't set up thankfully, like Samsung Pay and things like that.
Mm.
But I just have this aversion to having it all in one space. One of the things we are trying to teach our kids, and I think it's a little challenging here, um, our kids is like hard cash, what money really is, and the value,
Nice.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when you have it all they see is a card. Oh, just swipe your card, mommy. Just swipe your card.
Yeah, it's nice to right tap, and
Yeah,
now you can even just tap,
tap,
just
right?
tap
And
like
with your
that.
phones, you don't even need to do any tapping. You
Mm.
just and then it just
And then
does everything for you. So I try to pull that apart. And I think that I'm sure you've seen this meme also going around where people are so glued to their faces. We are not making any interpersonal connections anymore, right?
mm.
When I used to use the bus stop, you meet people at the bus stop, you get on the bus. Now everybody's on their phone. At the
Yeah,
airports, we're all on our phones. Everything is being done on our phones. That even the people that the person can be sitting next to you on the bus and you wouldn't know it and you will start chatting with the person. So I feel we are losing something when it comes to interpersonal communication.
yeah,
We need that human touch. And COVID taught us that even though we had all these channels for communication, all of these media, it was still not enough. We needed that human contact just to see somebody face to face. There's
yeah,
something different about it. So, I do use my phone quite a bit for communication, but I also realize that subconsciously I try to avoid doing everything on the phone.
yeah. I mean, don't put all your eggs in one
You
basket.
will, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we seem not to. I mean, if I lose my phone right now, I think there will be some sort of inconvenience.
Mhm, mhm.
But I also still, ooh, there are places where they don't even accept cash these days.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but I also still have my cards and
mhm.
the other things. I use electronic payment as much as I can when um like when I go to Braid now I use Cash App.
Okay.
Yeah, when you buy this Venmo, PayPal, all
Yeah.
those fun little stuff.
Mhm.
They are convenient. They are
Yeah.
really, really convenient.
Mhm.
I can tell you that I don't even know my card number.
I
I can
know.
then
I was remembering how we used to know the full
hey, I don't
16-digit
even know. I
number.
saw a video actually. It was meant to be a comedic video. A young lady went to the store. She purchased something, and when she was about to pay, her phone went off. And then the lady was waiting for her to pay. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, my phone is off. Can I get a charger?" And the lady was like, "I take cash. I take card. Like what is cash?
Oh
It's
my
supposed to be a, a young person. It's like, what is cash?" And the lady was like, "Cash, like paper money. Like,
money.
what is that?"
Oh my
And then the
goodness.
lady said, "Okay." I said, "Do you have an iPhone charger?" Like, no. Okay, can you call somebody to bring your money? Like, it's like, yeah, my mom. And then the lady gave her the office, like the store phone.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's the traditional phone, like you
Right.
key in the number. You're like, what is this? Like a phone, call your mom. It's like,
She doesn't know the mom's number.
she doesn't know how to use it. She doesn't know her mom's number
Mm.
in her head.
Right.
So the lady gave her her cell phone. And
Yeah.
hey, Siri, call mom. The
Okay.
lady, why are you calling my mom? It's like we take so
Yeah.
many things for granted. She
Yeah.
doesn't know the number in her head.
Mhm.
She doesn't know her address. Like everything was on her phone, and it
Mhm.
was just funny. I actually, the lady I said who was freaking out for me said there's been times where she's been stopped by the police and she would say that her driver's license is on her phone.
Oh
Like you
my
can
god.
scan on my phone. Like I've actually never thought of doing that. I would rather just give them my card and
Yeah.
have my peace of mind. Because the phone can really lead you to trouble. What if they decide to scroll through and start seeing stuff? I don't know. But I can have all kinds of things in my mind. So
Okay.
then how yeah. Oh, but I don't know if you've seen those series Border Patrol.
Mm-hmm,
They've been around for a long time.
mm-hmm,
Some focusing on Australia, US, and sometimes the phone has taken people into trouble. You
mm-hmm.
know, they are trying to show something on their phone, or the officers request for their phones, and they end up seeing all kinds of messages,
Mm.
um, defaulting on their visas, and
Oh,
some, and they've been deported and all kinds of things because of the phone.
right. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm,
Can you think of other ways that we can enhance um communication? I mean, even
mm,
professional communication, best practices. You've talked about having boundaries, you've talked about making that clear, because you can have, but if you don't make it clear to the other people, they may not take you seriously. If you
right,
tell me not to respond and I type and you still respond at 12 midnight, then I know that, oh, you will respond anyway. So
right.
whatever. What are
Yeah.
some other best practices we can adopt?
I think that more and more we're becoming a society that doesn't really listen,
Mm,
right? We're either we're listening to respond quickly because we just want to hear what you have to say, and then we're in a hurry to say what we want to tell you.
mm,
And so we're not really listening to understand you. We're not focused listening. Sometimes we're there, we're talking to you, but we are thinking of the next thing we want to be saying, to be moving the
yeah,
discussion to. Okay. So
yeah,
I think that because of the modes of communication these days, we don't do that as well. And so because of that, we also don't give good feedback, or we don't provide feedback at all. Um, so that we know that we are being listened to. It's one of the challenges I kind of had in different workplaces, right? The assumption that you send me an email, so you should know I've received it and I'll act on it. Well, I don't know if you've received it. I don't know if you're going to act on it. And a lot of times, too, people will say, well, I'm thinking about what to do first. So just acknowledging that, got your mail, we'll get back to you in the professional environment goes a long way. It shows you're
mm,
being responsive. It shows that you are acknowledging that it is a mediated communication, but communication is not one way. It has to be two ways. So I need to at least know you've seen it. And the other
mm,
problem I think I am seeing more and more these days is the use of tone in our communication, be it especially I think in our written communication and
okay,
things that people post, because I always remind my students that everything you're putting out there today, know that it's become part of your history you're going to see in 2, 3, 4
yeah,
years down the line. And so you do need to be very careful about it. Maybe you're posting today and it was a trendy thing to do. Everybody was saying it. Today, it might have a different meaning, but in 5 years, 10 years, when you're going up for a new position, you're going up for a public speaking appointment, something that is
mhm,
more open, that could come back to haunt you. So you want to be careful. Sometimes it's not what you said, but how you said it, right? The tone with which you said it. And we think that being straightforward
yeah,
upfront, that can be done with a good tone that
yeah,
communicates a positive attitude, right?
yeah,
So if you're
yeah,
working with your subordinating I was working on proposals. The proposal has to be submitted in two days, and then you email them. We have to get this proposal done in 2 days. So I need you to put in extra hours in the coming days to get this done.
yeah,
One way of saying it. You can also say, I really appreciate how much effort you put into this company and into this project that we are working on. I know I can count on you to
yeah,
continue to work with us to get this done and delivered at the time it's expected. We appreciate you as a team member. I've said the
yeah,
same thing in two different ways.
in two
So
different ways.
you would send these two different emails and you're going to get two different responses, but it's the same thing, you're still communicating. A lot of times
Yeah,
when you're sending a quick text, or you are reacting to something that you saw, we don't take our time to think about how we are saying it, or how we are
mm-hmm,
communicating,
mm-hmm,
and how that might come across to the person sitting on the other side of it. And that can bring about challenges that I think we need to think about. um,
yeah, yeah, that's very true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I was thinking how you need to understand your organizational culture and
Mm-hmm.
the people you are communicating with.
Mm-hmm.
My husband told me about somebody saying another person is screaming at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, screaming at them in an email.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only because everything was in caps and
That's
it
yeah.
had the exclamation signs at the end. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know the person is screaming at you? You
Right.
know, so
Yeah.
for this other person, probably that is unacceptable. I wouldn't think of caps as screaming. I would
Right.
probably think it's important or
Mm.
I don't know. So now we have to know what should I write? How should I write it? At what time should I
Mm-hmm.
write it?
Mm-hmm.
What is considered appropriate for the people I'm working with? What
Mm-hmm.
is not considered appropriate? Some
Yeah.
people, if you don't add their titles, you are in trouble. Some
Yeah.
don't even want their titles
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. I mean, so many different ways when it comes to that. It's not the same when you're face to face and you can read the person's reaction and all that. There have
Mm-hmm.
been times I wish I could just record voice
Mm-hmm.
and send rather than typing because you
Right.
don't know how it will come across
Mm-hmm.
to the other person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it takes a lot more work these days to communicate if you want to do it
Mhm,
right than
mhm.
in the past. And these are really important things that you're raising. And even one of the things that I think I noticed it a bit more, and that's normal during COVID because of course everything went online, was
Yeah.
that Dr. G, how many tabs do you have opened?
Um, okay, it depends on how many browsers you are talking about.
Okay, so I have not
For
even
this very browser we are using just two.
okay.
But then if we are going to talk about my hidden browsers and the tabs on those hidden browsers,
Mhm.
that's a different conversation. Okay.
Right. And so we are easily distracted in
Yeah.
this thorough of channels that we have, right?
Yeah.
And that can really get in the way of communicating.
If I knew you were going to ask me, I would have put everything. I would have closed everything before coming to sit here.
Right.
Okay, that's the reality.
And
Okay.
yeah, the
Okay.
distractions are so many. So you are
Mhm.
here, Dr. G. I'm sure your phone is also, you're checking your phone to see where everybody is.
Nah,
We are
I
we are
think
so
I'm not checking my phone only because I know that people are usually. Well, I also have WhatsApp on my computer.
right.
So if I have a social media helper,
Mhm.
sometimes if the audio is not working or something, he will try to reach me on WhatsApp,
Okay.
say, check this, check that. And then I have another person who was likely to edit the video and you'll say, is it possible you don't do this? Is it possible you don't do that? Then yeah, but when I start speaking, I don't check anything again. I get easily distracted if I try to check the
Mm,
other platforms.
right.
So once I in the beginning when I say I'm checking, I check, I make sure it's on. I just forget. I don't know why I can do both, but I can get easily distracted. I can even forget what I'm talking about if I start
Yeah.
to check the different browsers.
Right. So that's all to say that somehow our attention spans have seem to be shrinking a little bit with all of
Yep.
this plethora that we have. And so you want to be careful about that.
Yeah.
When you have different things open, you're checking one thing. And we think we are very good at multitasking. A lot of the times we're
Mm-mm.
not. We don't do such a good job at it. And it is especially in let's say video mediated calls like this. It's the
Yeah.
person you're communicating with can tell that you're not fully present,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you want to be aware of some of these things and try to minimize all of those other distractions. If you are giving your time, you might as well ensure that you're giving your full time and being present there if the person is worth giving your time to and you are committing to that. So let's just be aware of that, because I tell myself if you were in an interview you wouldn't do that. So
Yeah.
think about that and think about what you would expect in that same environment if the tables had turned. And so yeah.
It's true. Excuse me. It's true. It's like respect the other person at the other end,
Right.
and it's true even online.
Mhm.
When people have their eyes going all around, their heads bowed down, and
And you're
Then
talking.
probably it's better you don't have your screen on, because when you have it on and it's like, okay, I'm bored. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's the
you tell the
thing.
difference between me being like this
Hmm.
and being like this.
And then the interesting thing is, I always tell my students that we know it's when you're not, you're on your screen saying you're taking notes and you're not. Because why would you suddenly just start smiling broadly when we are talking about research concepts? No, everybody
On
should
Instagram.
understand, right? You know,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
so you just in the business world, you want to be careful, and especially when you work remotely, right? And so
Yeah.
that's one of your major challenges. You want to be a bit more careful because we easily get distracted,
Yeah.
especially when you're working remotely, because everything is all around you, right? And so you want to think a bit about that, and if you can create that space to be
Yeah.
able to give your full focus to at least in that mediated form of communication, so that for some people, even when you're doing a meeting such as this, and then people are sending in messages and you have to be checking and still moderating, it can be a challenge. So just knowing yourself and making sure you're getting the support that you
That's
need.
really true. Yeah. I have another project that I work on. And in the beginning of that project, I was trying to be fancy. So while I'm talking to the person, interviewing the person, I'm doing background work, like enlarging the screen, doing this, making things pop up. When I look at the recordings, I can see myself not listening.
Mm.
I can see myself like fidgeting, moving my eye contact, and though it's just like you're in your screen, I am in my screen, but I can clearly tell that Charlie, this no be good.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is being recorded and it's quite embarrassing though, but
Lessons. We're all learning, though.
yeah,
This whole thing is evolving and we're learning.
yeah,
The other thing I remind my students, especially when you're doing interviews and it is video interviews, is that try to look into the camera lens because it gives the impression you're
yeah,
looking
like this.
directly in the eye. It's really tempting. I remind
Hmm.
them to look at yourself and your little thumbnail there because sometimes
Mhm.
you're looking, oh, my glasses don't look so good. You start to look at yourself and
That's your mirror, like is my
right,
eye looking fine, my hair looking
yeah.
fine. Okay.
You know, that looking in the mirror at the very least, given it some eye level, gives shows that you're looking directly at the people you're talking to. And believe it
Mm,
or not, when you smile, it just gives a warmth across that mediated form of communication you're engaging with. Yeah,
yeah.
it helps. Like the way Dr. G is always smiling.
Like this.
Yeah.
Fake smile. Like
So,
change
yeah.
of style. Yeah. Oh yes. And then one thing I think we should hit on will be jargons and acronyms. There are so many things going on. Can you
Mm.
believe that I had to ask in one of our Zoom meetings, somebody wrote BRB and then left and came back on. But I was so embarrassed, but I was like, what is BRB?
You're right.
Be right back.
Yep.
Like, why didn't I know that? I felt so bad. But also I was like, eh, okay.
Yeah, it happens.
It
Yeah,
happens.
because it's a whole
We
new
make
culture is
assumptions.
developing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole new culture. And I know it's almost time for us to be done. So I'll say this real quick before we
Whoa, I didn't even see the time.
So it's a whole new culture that is developing and that's evolving and that's going to change over time.
Yeah.
Because I remember way back, a colleague, maybe that was in probably 2000, I was saying, oh, she writes LOL to mean lots of love. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and others, no, LOL means laugh out loud.
Oh goodness.
So there are different meanings that some of these acronyms are taking up, and even the emojis. The people use different emojis to mean different things, and so
Yeah.
you want to be sure that there is at least a
Yep.
shared meaning with the person you are communicating with, and using these emojis and acronyms with, so that you are all on the same page. Okay, because I remember there was one of a mom who had, I think, somebody had passed away and was telling their daughter and wrote this person. Do you know this person just died? And used the emoji of the skull And the daughter freaked out. She says, Mom, no,
Mm.
you're supposed to see someone crying, showing sadness. That's scary. But for the mom, so
It's
different
good.
generations
Yeah.
even understand these things very differently. So, and the thing, Dr. G, is like I said, they are evolving, they are changing. So what it used to mean yesterday might mean something
Yeah.
very different today. So we have to try and keep up pace if we want to be engaging in using these.
Mm, mm, I see. And I lost track of time too. That is
Yeah.
also something to look out for when you're communicating with people. The
Right.
time, be mindful of their time.
Yeah.
They may
Very
have other very, very important things to do.
right.
Okay, so you are stuck with me. Yeah.
Oh my.
But I'm also thinking about as we are concluding, I was thinking about something which I've lost track of, but
Okay.
we have to, yes, we were talking about the emojis, and I was gonna say that I have used smiling face and somebody's like, why are you smiling? Because you cannot tell the person's reaction.
Yeah.
Maybe type it out.
Mm-hmm.
Spend a little bit of time. Just type out what you want to say. If you are maybe very familiar with a person and you already have that kind of style of communicating, then maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
But don't assume, don't make any assumption that everybody will understand, everybody knows, but everybody knows this, but probably not.
Right.
Probably not. And that small miscommunication can cost you
A lot.
in so many ways.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Tessie, any final tips, contributions before we get offline?
Feedback, follow up. If you're not sure what's being communicated, check to be sure what you understand is what actually is being communicated.
Yeah.
So that you're not on different pages, and then you run with your understanding, and the person who shared that information is also coming with a totally different understanding.
Mm.
Especially in the workplace is very important.
Mm.
We need that kind of feedback. We need that kind of engagement to be able to get done what we need to get done in that space. So let's listen attentively. Um, let's understand that communication is not just verbal or just what's written. There's the emotional,
Yeah.
there's the non-verbal part of it that sometimes gets missing, especially in mediated forms. And um, however you want to be able to check on that, or you're able to get that kind of information to, is very helpful. Right. So
Mm.
you're
Yeah.
working with a colleague and maybe you're trying to schedule them and you are their supervisor. So they have a hard time saying no to you.
No.
They're trying, you need to be able to read a bit in between the lines to be able to see that this is probably not going to work for them. Right? They have kids, and so you want to schedule them for a weekend Saturday evening. They don't have any childcare. They don't
Yeah.
want to lose their job. They don't want to look like they are not team players, right? But being a bit sensitive and understanding the times that people are in would be helpful in the workplace generally.
Mm. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you mentioned clarifying information.
Mhm.
I think that's very important too. Don't just assume that the person meant it this way. There have been times where I read an email, I got offended right away. Like, how
Right,
dare this person do this? And I go back to it again, like, oh, I misread
right,
it. It
right.
wasn't that way, it was this way. So
Mhm.
always clarify and don't just be offended or overly react. If you don't get something, always ask, is this what I am understanding you say? Do you mean it this way? Can I rephrase what you said? Do you want me to do this? Oh, yes. Even recently, somebody asked us to do something through an email. And when we thought the person wanted us to do it, that wasn't when the person wanted us to do it.
Mm.
It's like, but we thought you wrote, like, no, I didn't mean it this way. I thought I was saying if.
Yeah.
How many ways do we have to say this? So
Right.
writing,
Yeah.
communicating online, always clarify. It's okay to clarify than to do it and regret.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's
appreciate
true.
that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, thriving friends.
Yes.
You see, we have to go. Most of you have work to get back to. So we appreciate you, Dr. C. God bless you.
Oh, glad to be
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping by,
Sure.
having this conversation with us. We hope to see you again and again and again. Yeah, and we hope.
Right.
You took time. Please, I know your husband. He's my best friend. I'll call him and I'll tell him to tell you to show up. I know what
Okay.
to do. I
I
know
mean,
how to communicate.
you're doing a good job, really, with trying. We're
You can't
excited.
bribe me with that one, or you are still coming
No,
back.
I mean it's the honest truth, right? You're doing something, you're passionate about it, you keep going at it, you're
Oh,
providing a
thank you.
resource that is very much needed.
Yeah.
And so it's one that is valued. And
Yeah.
I congratulate you on it. I applaud you
Oh,
on
thank you.
this
Thank you.
initiative.
Thank
Yes. And I'm just using words. I really mean it. Yeah.
you. Oh, thank you, Doc. I just hope that Thriving Friends will use these resources we share. It's not just information that we are throwing out there. Implement them in your daily activities. Take something out of this and improve. We want to thrive. I always say that I don't want to be the only thriving friend you have. I want to have plenty, many, many of you. Like, oh, you see, Dr. G, she's my friend. Oh, you see that? You also have to be proud of where you are going. If we meet again next month, next year, and you are the same place you were the previous year, I don't think that's cool. Doc, what do you think?
I totally, totally agree with that
Ah,
because in life we need to evolve. So
we need
we have
to.
to thrive. Yeah.
We need to. We cannot be where even if, I mean, that's why I said in a month, maybe changes do take time, impact do take time, but I mean, in 365 days, you cannot be repeating the same things that you were repeating the previous years. No change. Ah, this one, I will cancel your name from the Thriving Friends book. You know, support me, support me. Yeah, so let's go ahead and thrive holistically. Do something more, improve on your language skill, your professional skill, whatever you need to do. Please do it and do it well. We wish you all the very best. We love you. We appreciate you. Whenever you join, go ahead, share the video, like the video. When we check from the background and it didn't stream on the other platforms, we'll find a way of sharing too. So,
Right.
God be with you all. Dr. Say any final word, then we jump off.
What can I say? What can I say? We cannot not come. Do you hear some noise on the background? I'm trying to mute some noise that's coming through. Can you hear it?
It's okay.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
You cannot not communicate. So not communicating is communicating. So give some
Yeah.
thought to what you do when you're communicating, because
Yeah.
even when you're not doing it, you are still sharing information. So let's
That's
think a
right.
bit about it. We want our workplaces to be places where we are comfortable, we are able to thrive there. Dr. G always talks about holistic, growth, holistic development. So we want to make sure that every aspect of our lives we're thriving. And
Yeah.
and communication, you would need it everywhere you go, even when you're
Mm.
sleeping. So make sure you give it some thoughts and put in your very best, and it will give its best to you as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc. And I'm smiling because now messages are popping up. I I just looked at my WhatsApp and wow, amazing conversation. Congratulations. Unstable internet in Ghana at the moment. People are texting me on the side, and I wasn't even looking at the messages, so I didn't know. Thriving Friends, we understand. Okay, the video will be there for you to enjoy. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. God bless you, Dr. AC, and God bless you all.
Bless you
Keep
too.
thriving and thrive holistically.